Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Dave Experience. It's been a while, but this is how to argue with a woman. It's not actually that hard, but first let me say this method is for defense only. This is not to be used to annoy your girlfriend or your wife. This is only to be used against unreasonable women. Now, um, many men, my father included, say, I pick my fights very carefully, or I only fight when I have to. First, you need to know that this is the opposite of what you need to do. If you fold every time, if you give in all the time, all you're doing is training her to fight with you every time she wants something. You've got to fight over little things. You've got to fight every time. You've got to fight every single argument. Tonight, I want you to go out and start a fight. No, don't do that. But I'm making a point. They say you can either be happy or you can be right. And the problem with that statement is that the people saying it actually believe it's true. It isn't. Second, you need to know how. My brother agreed with me, but he said he didn't know what to do, so let's learn. First, when you fight, don't ever curse. Once you do, that's the only thing they can hear. I don't know why that is, but that's the truth of the matter. Next, men, when we fight with reason and logic. It's similar to a gunfight in that each point of logic is one bullet. When you run out of bullets, most often the argument is over. Sometimes, if you have a particularly good point, it will hit home and you win. Women don't do this. Women fight emotionally. Women use the same point over and over again. It's like a knife fight, and they will stab, stab, stab you over and over with the same thing again and again. She will do this to wear you down until you can't go on anymore and you just give up. So what do? You take these two methods and you combine them. She says whatever she says, then you use your first point of logic. She repeats what she says, and then you simply rephrase what you just said and say it again. Now, she may call you on this, but if she does, you simply tell her that she is also repeating herself and continue the fight. She will usually go on to her next point. Then you go on to yours. When she repeats herself again, you simply rephrase and say what you said again. Women are really not that good at having a lot of points, generally speaking, so she'll usually run out of points before you do. Now, she may change the subject and bring up something that has nothing to do with the matter at hand. This is a diversion. Ignore it and continue on what you were saying. Here's a case in point. My first motorcycle. Now, I went out with some friends together to get our learner's permits for our motorcycles. Yes, a motorcycle is a dangerous thing, but there are a few things that make you feel so wonderful that it's worth the risk, and this is one of them. My first friend got his permit, went home to his wife, and said nothing. My second friend got his permit, went home to his girlfriend, and said nothing. I got my permit, and before I was even inside the house, I had it out in my hand, came inside, marched right up to her, and said, "Look what I got." She was displeased. She said, "I hope you know this doesn't mean that you're going to drive a motorcycle." And I said, "Actually, if you look at the piece of paper, I think that's exactly what it means." We argued. She told me I wasn't allowed to have a motorcycle. I laughed at that and asked her by what authority and method she intended to stop me. And anyway, after about 90 seconds, the argument was over, and it was no surprise when I showed up with a Kawasaki Ninja. When they showed up with it, because we bought it together, their women were really pissed off. They cowered, they caught hell, they got yelled at, and they only went out because we couldn't take the thing back because it was in my name. But all three women eventually warmed up to the idea after they got to ride it, but they still stayed mad about the argument, about not being told for so long. Anyway, people have said to me, "You're not married, you don't know." Well, I've been in relationships that were longer than their marriages, most of these particular people. And secondly, The structure of a woman's brain doesn't just change because she gets married. Her hormones don't change because she gets married. Her psychological landscape doesn't change because she gets married. She may have unreasonable expectations once the marriage begins, but that's just as much your fault for not communicating with your mate or doing a proper screening. Now, there's only one time that this method doesn't work, and that's when she's really pissed off. I mean really pissed off, like she is certifiable. Remember not to curse, speak calmly and softly. Soon, by contrast, she'll start to hear how insane she sounds as she's yelling and shrieking like a harpy. When she's certifiable, you treat her like you would any other insane person. Very carefully and subtly, you glance at her kind of sideways with a look on your face like she's just said something that's totally nuts. Very often she has. It may take you a while to master this, but once you do it, it's very effective. You've got to stay confident. If you can, and you are unshakable, at least on the outside, she will start to doubt herself. Have you ever had an argument with somebody about something and you gave in because the other person was just so sure? They were just so sure that they were right, and it shook your confidence? That's what I'm talking about. Now, with any behavior modification regimen, it almost always gets worse before it gets better. This is perfectly normal, but if you apply this method consistently and you don't back down, it will work. And gentlemen, if she's right, just give it to her. Don't keep fighting if you know she's right about it. But if she keeps harping on it after you've conceded, then you've got to keep going and tell her why. Tell her that because she didn't stop fighting once you won the argument, that you're not going to do it, whatever it is she wants, no matter what. Tell her learn to take yes for an answer. Now, we're almost there, but there's one last thing that you need to know. She may have only one, two, maybe three metaphorical knives, but she's got one last thing hidden up her sleeve, the nuclear weapon of arguments. Sex and denial of it. Now, it's not what you're thinking, but there are two simple things you can do about this. First, a girlfriend once did this. She said, "We're not going to have sex for 2 weeks." Now, you see what she just did? Imagine her eyes looking up as if she's trying to remember something when she says that. We're not going to have sex for 2 weeks. Now, what she just did was calculate in her mind at what point in her cycle she's going to be horniest. Whatever that date is, write it down somewhere. Keep it in your mind. Then first make her wait until that date. Never give in early. Then, now this is what you really need to do. Then make her wait until that point in her next cycle. Oh, I guarantee she will never try that one again. I always warn my girlfriends. Now, I never tell them exactly what I'm going to do, but I tell them I'm going to take it personally, or I'll ask them, listen, are you sure you want to do that? You sure you want to cut me off from sex? And they almost always learn too late. Some of them don't, but they all figure it out eventually, and then we get on fine after that. Let's see. Now, if it's too difficult, just refuse to sleep in the same bed with her. This will make her miss you. If she asks why, or if she wants to be held but not have sex, just tell her it's too hard to lay next to her every night and not touch her. If you can take it, lie next to her, but don't hold her, don't touch her in any way. She'll be missing you soon enough. If she wants to wrap her arms around you, that's fine. Don't let her tease you at all, though. Also, if you're not living together, what I do is I go to my place and I sleep there. I also do that if she orders me out of the bed and onto the couch. Now, if it's her place, I can't force my way into her bed. If it's my house, or if we're paying the rent together, I'm not going to be put out of my own bed. It's not going to happen. If you got a problem, you go sleep on the couch. But if I have my own apartment, what I can do is do her one better and go sleep in my own bed. It'll drive her nuts because, first, she's probably never encountered this sort of thing before, and make sure she knows you still love her, but that you won't tolerate any unreasonable demands. Next comes pouting. She may pout around the house. That means she's lost, but she has nothing to do but torture you until you wear down. Now, what you need to do is be visibly happy. Don't chase her around trying to comfort her. She needs to be reasonable. When she is, you two can interact like, oh, I don't know, adults? Now, this may be difficult, especially the sex part, but be a man. Be a real man. Our fathers went to war. Are we seriously going to say that we can't face our girlfriends? Be strong. Be confident. Have one big bad fight for 3 months tops, and then have a reasonable girl for the rest of your life. Or avoid it, and let her walk all over you forever. And once, just once in your life, make sure you make her spend the night on the couch. Make sure she knows it goes both ways. Sometimes they'll be mad and test you, and you don't even know you're being tested. Now, case in point, I walked past the garbage that I was supposed to take out. Now, I was on my way to the garage to get some tools to fix some rather critical part of the house that needed my attention now. But I caught my girlfriend watching me out of the corner of her eye, and she kind of nodded angrily to herself and went, as if she was saying, see, he is a scumbag. Now you've got to call her on this when this happens. Make sure that she knows, look, I'm going out to fix the roof because it's going to rain this afternoon. The garbage can wait, the roof can't. And women do keep score. Love is like a fire. It needs to be fed, especially in the beginning. If it's not fed, it will eventually go out. And it can be restarted, but it's best to just keep it going. If you do something wrong, that's like pouring water on the wood fire. So if it's your fault, if you screw up, make sure you do something nice to even the score. Even if you get married, if the score is too high in one direction, she will leave you. That oath will hold her for a while, but eventually, if it's bad enough, she'll look at the life she could be having and she'll go get it. She's not going to be stuck with you if she's miserable. Make sure you make it worth it for her. And remember, it's always best to talk things out. Direct, but with sensitivity. But make sure you both talk about what's what. Now, let's talk briefly about lies. Women say they want an honest man. They say a lot of things. But often when a man is honest, they go stark raving mad. Now, they're not lying. They do want an honest man, but that thought is incomplete. They want an honest man, and they want that truth to be whatever it is they want it to be. And you need to be prepared for that eventuality. Now, women do lie. I'm not talking about makeup and push-up bras, but they do lie. They're just better at not getting caught. Women want to have sex like we do, they just don't talk about it. Women curse and fart and have crap that stinks and drink. Some of them even smoke. But they just hide it better. Some don't, but they always hide at least some of it better than we do. Lying is like throwing up. We don't want to, but every now and then it just sort of slips out. It's a natural defense mechanism. Now, I'm not advocating lying, but I am advocating whatever does the most good and the least harm. If you do lie, take that to the grave with you. If you're both 98 and in the old folks' home, and she asks you if you ever had a threesome before you met her, just say no and let her die happy. If you hid something, bear the guilt. Don't take a load off your own chest and make her feel miserable. How many times has a woman asked you the truth, you told her the truth, and she got madder than you've ever seen her before? Ladies, stop asking. Alright? If you're going to flip out if we've had a threesome, then don't ask. Because the answer is either going to be that we're liars, that we're freaks, or in the case that you actually get the answer that you want, we might feel a little bit like losers if we haven't had one. So don't ask us. Ladies, if you do that little thing where you say, well, if you don't